Now Laurel has a question about how to offer to be an alternate. Laurel, what's your question tonight?
Yes, hi. I'm with Service Canada in Calgary, and in the citizen service area that I'm working, we're not anticipating that there'll be any affected employees. And my question is, if any of us were interested in becoming an alternate, and perhaps switching with an opting employee, how would we be made aware of how to make those types of matches?
The one thing that is in place right now is within the government's intranet on GC Forums, there's a subcategory called GC Forums Alternation. And it's a Web 2 kind of database where you can go on it and potentially find a match. What you would have to do is find someone at the same level with the same sort of skills that you have. That would be an opting employee. Having said that, it's a pretty blunt instrument because it won't allow reports. There's no search capacity, and it would involve probably quite a bit of searching on your part. But let's say it works, and then the thing that is not built into the system, what you would have to do then, you would make contact with the opting employee. You would look at one another's resume. You would decide, yeah, we've got a match here. Then that opting employee would have to go to their manager, and you would have to go to your manager and suggest a switch. At the same time, I would also highly recommend that you would go to your union and that the opting employee would go to her component representative and ask them to also be involved in ensuring that the switch can happen. Your manager would have the final say, but what we want to avoid is managers arbitrarily not participating in the alternation system. We've gotten some hint so far that some departments are taking that position, and we're working at trying to sort that out so that they don't take that position anymore. But that would be what would have to happen. What I would really, really, really strongly suggest for those folks who are involved in your local or involved in your union on a regional capacity is that if you do have a regional workforce adjustment committee, that the Regional Workforce Adjustment Committee should be taking a very, very strong interest in alternation for the region and be actually getting lists of employees who are interested in alternating and employees who are opting and are looking for an alternate. And that should be both cross-departmentally and within departments. All that to say is that GC Forums thing exists right now, and you may be able to find a match on it, and if you have a good manager and the opting employee has a good manager, you may be able to effect a good match. But I would also say that it's very, very important that we all exercise as much communication as we can to ensure that things are put in place to facilitate that kind of alternation, because it's certainly the PSA's perspective right now that the GC Forums alternation site is a mildly useful tool, but it cannot be the center of alternation policy or process, and that there needs to be a far more strenuous process put around it besides the tool. And
so Howie, it's Robyn, and I'll just add for the brothers and sisters that are on the line. I have written to all of the federal councils, asking them to have a meeting with them to look at a joint adjustment committee. We had it in the 90s. It evolved to a joint career transition committee, but I've done that overture to have meetings with them as well. I've sent out an email to all of the regional vice presidents, national vice presidents, speaking about workforce adjustment, talking about whether or not we should be establishing a regional committee, cross-component lines, how we would go about doing that. So that work is underway. As well, I've asked members to send information into my office, so I'm starting to make a list of those who are wishing to alternate, and those, of course, who are not wanting to leave the federal government. So there's work already being done, and once the provincial federal councils give the go-ahead in terms of they're going to meet with us and have some open, transparent dialogue, then we'll certainly put more information out to the membership.
And we're trying to put together a template for a common terms of reference that will give alternation a very, very high place within that terms of reference.
Thanks, Howie. We got to move on to the next question. We only have time for a couple more questions now. If you do still have a question, though, you are encouraged to leave a message at the end of this call. You'll have an opportunity to do so, and please stay tuned to the Prairie's website for answers to more of your questions. We're going to go to Julie now. Julie has a question about maternity leave.
Hi, I am an affected employee. I was just wondering if I can now go on care and nurturing and only receive my surplus letter when I come back from care and nurturing.
You can certainly apply for care and nurturing leave. I'm not that familiar with that type of leave, but in terms of any type of leave, if you're on leave while you're affected, the employer wouldn't make a decision as to whether to provide you, if you're surplus, with a guarantee of a reasonable job offer or the opting options until you come back. Of course, the employer does have the discretion in terms of whether to grant you the leave that you're requesting. But if you do, in fact, go on leave while you're still affected, they shouldn't be making any decisions until you come back. That is the general policy, the general way that the Treasury Board is directing departments is to not make any decisions about employees who are off on leave.
Thanks, Julie. We're going to go straight on to Laura now with one of the last questions. Laura has a question about learning opportunities.
Well, first of all, I'd just like to thank you for the opportunity to hear where everybody's at across the board with all the different departments. And my first question has been answered, but my second part of the question is, as this whole WFA surplus, the whole shebang, as it continues to evolve and unroll, are you going to continue to provide us, as far as the membership, with this kind of opportunity for a dial-in to hear like what's going on and who's going where and et cetera, et cetera?
Well, it's Robyn, and I'll take that question because this is the Prairie region, and I'm the REVP for the Prairies. We have done this a couple of times, Laura, for other issues. Certainly, we felt it was really important around the workforce adjustment to do this. I think that it's, in my opinion, I think it's an excellent way to do an outreach to thousands and thousands of members. So we'll certainly be looking to doing this in the future. We always look at whether or not we've been effective. I'll be able to tell from all of the messages that I'm hoping will be left at the end of the call, but I can certainly commit to ensuring that we have some really good discussion and dialogue and more communication with the membership.
Thanks, Robyn, and thanks to Laura for your comment and your question. Now, Robyn, I'm going to send it right back to you. We've had a lot of discussion tonight. There's been lots of questions and lots that we couldn't even answer on this call. What are your thoughts about the discussion that's happened so far?
Well, thanks, Jeffrey. And I, first of all, I really want to thank Howie and Alison. I really appreciate their expertise and them making themselves available to come on the telephone town hall. It's evident that our membership needs information and wants information, and quite frankly, brothers and sisters, It's my desire to work really closely with your locals, with your local executives, your stewards, and your regional leadership. I think that that's how it's going to make us stronger, and that's how we're going to be united as one. I said at the beginning of the town hall that it's a difficult time for our members, and it's been a really difficult couple of weeks getting phone calls from members who've either received affected letters or surplus letters, or actually found out that programs that have been around for 100 years have been cut. And, I can speak emphatically for the leadership within the Prairies, and that we will do everything that we can to assist our members, because we're the second hardest hit. National Capital Region's got a little over 2,000 members that have received letters so far, and we're at a little over 1,000. So I think it's a telling tale what's going to happen over the next few weeks. I think now more than ever we need to stand together in solidarity and work together, and we need to fight back against the destruction of the quality public services. I think back to March the 1st when we were all out there standing for public services, and I believe that working together that we'll be able to show Canadians what this government is doing. So I commit to keeping you posted in terms of the impacts that we find out from the departments and the agencies as they give the information to Ottawa, and then it comes down here to the Prairies. But I also remind you about our Prairies on Patrol. We started that initiative out of this office months ago, and several letters have gone out. And what the Prairies on Patrol is about is telling me what's taking place in your workplaces. Because what I found out is that it's on the shop floor where you find out where the cuts are. That's where you notice them. That's where it's evident. And so I've been getting intel, if you will, or information over the last several months about what may be coming down the line. And certainly if I go back through my emails, what our members thought was going to happen is, in fact, what has happened. So I'd ask you to be a Prairie member on patrol and to keep my office informed in terms of what the cuts are within your workplace and how it's affecting you and your coworkers. And I also ask you to continue to check the Prairie Region website at www.prairies.psac.com for updates if we have them. And last but not least, I want to reiterate that our regional office staff are ready to help you in any way that they can. I know that they have done some sessions on workforce adjustment. They're committed to doing as many sessions as what's needed. They will do the training. They've got materials for your local. We've suggested that we could come out and do actual training within your workplaces. So we're going to try and make it as accessible as absolutely possible so that our members get the training that they need. And I also want to say that during this difficult time, because it is a difficult time, that I'm committed to helping each and every affected member through the choices that they have to make. So you can contact me at bensonr, BENSONR, @PSAC.com.
Thanks, Robyn, and thanks to all PSAC members who took part in tonight's meeting. Again, please take just a minute to leave us a message after this call with any further questions that you have. And be sure to check back at prairies.psac.com tomorrow for more answers to your question and the audio from tonight's call. Thanks again, and have a great night.